Okay.
Hi, Krishanu.
Hi, Ronaldo.
Hi, everyone. I have an insight when you spoke of the delayed choice experiment. I think the delayed choice experiment has a lot to do with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Because according to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and according to the quantum worldview, nothing is predetermined. So you can change your mind and choose other options even after you have already made a choice. That is, even if you have already made a wrong choice, you can make a right choice. What is your opinion on about the correlations between the delayed choice experiment and the Heisenberg uncertainty principle? Please.
Okay. And again, a very nice question. Heisenberg uncertainty principle deals about the uncertainty in measurement of complementary aspects of a quantum object. The most common example that we get is the velocity and the position of a quantum object. The principle says that if someone is moving, a quantum object is moving in space and time particularly, if we want to measure the velocity accurately, we cannot have an accurate reading of its position. There would be a degree of uncertainty involved in this. And if we want to measure the position of that particle, position of that object, quantum object, then we will not have an accurate reading of its velocity. So if we measure one aspect accurately, the other aspect becomes uncertain. It's not that we cannot measure, but they are uncertain. Right? So this is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Looking back at delayed choice experiments tells us that future can impact the past. I don't know whether you have attended those classes of Amit, where he said that we talk about Big Bang 13.6 billion years ago. So he says that Big Bang. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. My internet is very strange, and I lost the part where you were explaining the Schrödinger cat experiment. Was it about the uncertainty principle?
Schrödinger.
The Schrödinger cat experiment.
No. Schrödinger cat experiment is not about uncertainty. It is about superposition. Superposition.
No, I lost this one. Superposition of what?
Superposition of the two states of a quantum object. So the cat
alive and dead. Yeah, could be alive and could be dead.
So if they coexist, it is called superposition.
Okay.
If you will hear this terms very frequently. Superposition means there could be multiple states of a quantum object, and when not measured, these states simultaneously exist, and this is called quantum superposition.
Not measured is the caveat.
Exactly. Not
okay.
Right. The moment.
Right. Yes, I'm also confused with the delayed choice, but I think if I put it together, like Ronaldo said, with this one, then it will be even more weird for me to understand.
It is actually a little bit weird, definitely, but it's very interesting too. What I was telling Ronaldo is this. So Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is this: when one aspect is measured accurately, Another aspect will have a degree of uncertainty in it. The measurement will not be accurate. Whereas if we look at delayed choice, it is very counterintuitive. It is very different than how we perceive the world. Like, I'll take your example. Let's say I made a bad choice, and then I realized, oh, I made a bad choice. So I changed my choice and did something good, according to me, good, in a contextual sense. But that does not take away the bad choice. Let's say, as a student, I made a bad choice. I didn't study, and I did poorly in my exams. And later on, I realized, oh, that was a bad choice, so I must work hard. So I worked hard, studied again, and did some good things in life. But this doing the good things, making the right choice at a later point in time, does not erase the bad choice that I made.
Yeah, I agree
Whereas,
perfectly.
if we look at a quantum eraser experiment as we described, the delayed choice experiment, the fact that something is going to happen or happened in the future went back and erased the past. It created a past as
Perfect.
the result. It is like, back calculation. Mathematics
Yes,
has
exactly.
result, and you go back in time and create whatever brought you to that result. What I was going to tell you before Cecilia broke in is, Amit often says, the first sign of life created the Big Bang going back in time 13.6 billion years. Okay. So until there is an observer, there are no things. So these are two very different experiments, or two very different theories, so to speak. The uncertainty principle and the delayed choice, but both are very important.
Yeah. But the main principle, I think, that is you have the choice to make an alternative way to correct the Newtonian view. Talked about it is not possible. It is the destiny. If you have a life like this, you have no choice. This is karma, and is a lie. You have the choice to make this difference and a different life. And I see in this principle of Heisenberg and delayed choice, and we have an alternative to make our life better and better and better.
Absolutely. I'll put this into context a little bit. How do I put it into context? Let's say Newtonian worldview. How does things move in a Newtonian worldview? Or so if I have to, again, my cup. So if I have to hold my cup up, I'll have to apply force. If I leave this cup, it will fall on the ground. I'll have to pay for it, so I'll not do it. But then the gravity, the force of gravity will pull it down. So movement is because of force. If we look at correspondence in human life, it is often that we are forced to make choices. We are in a situation, the situation demands certain things. Let's say I'm very lazy, but I have to pay my bills. So I'm forced to do certain work so that I can pay the bills, right? So this is Newtonian, equivalence of Newtonian. In quantum science, we talk about choice. How manifestation happens? It happens through choice. And choice is theoretically unlimited, infinite. Theoretically infinite. Because when a quantum object spreads, it can spread all over. So what you were saying is, if I read it correctly, is of course, as human beings, we have the luxury of choice at any time. And we can choose out of many alternatives, one alternative, out of many probabilities, one actuality. And this choice gives that potentially can give us an instant shift. We are going in one direction, we make a choice, it can potentially give us a shift. Why I am saying potential? I am saying potentially here. I'm clearly saying why? Because it is not also easy to make a choice and stick with it. We also have something called conditioning. If we are conditioned over a period of time into doing something in a certain way, we already have done this conditioning to ourselves. When you want to break this conditioning, it is going out of the track and it will try to pull you back into that conditioning effect.
Perfect.
Right? So this is how it happens. And if we have a good enough way, and there are many ways to make choices, and a lot of people make drastic choices and make their life completely different than what they were before. So again, this is the difference between quantum science and Newtonian science. And I strongly believe that every one of us have umpteen choices to make. And if I may suggest you that you read the books on creativity as well as on manifestation, and you will get a lot more information in these departments. Okay.
Thank you, Krishanu.
Yeah, Cecilia.
Back to the delayed choice thing. This is for me something that the future will change the past.
Yes.
I know from the experiments that, for example, the guys who did not open the envelope, and then after they opened, it was different. But in the practice, I don't know. You said you now mentioned the Big Bang.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take off my headphones.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll again share this so that I can go back to the slide.
No, because with the headphones, all the noise comes in. So you said that the Big Bang happened after. I mean, it was perceived afterwards.
Yes, it was not perceived afterwards. It collapsed afterwards.
Yeah. Because there was no observer. There was no observer when it happened, right?
Great. Now, this is, if we look at this slide, what I'm trying to tell you is in simple words. The observation here in this delayed choice experiment has already collapsed whatever had to be collapsed. This measurement here, after the collapse happens, detects which way these photons came from. The knowledge of which way these photons came would collapse it where? Right here, so that the interference pattern will disappear and it will be replaced with just two bands. So what happens in this setup is that we see the electrons, the moment we measure them here, the interference patterns disappear and it is just particle patterns that appear. Even after, theoretically, this pattern should have already been created. That is the right way to put it. It should have been an interference. But the moment we measure this, it is no longer an interference. It becomes particle pattern. So it is only possible when, going back in time, these photons changed from being waves to a particle here. So this is called going back in time and changing things. delayed choice. The choice of whether it is a particle or a wave got delayed. That's why delayed choice.
And how can this explain that thing that when, remember that example that Amit uses, that the psychic was putting some, there was a random number generator. A random number generator generated some numbers. This was put into an envelope. Nobody opened it for 3 months, and then, but I don't remember where the psychic came in.
Yeah. So I'll just tell you what. Random number generator generates numbers randomly. That's the name. Okay, and it ran like, you know, some devices that are often provided by banks. They have these things. So every time you press it, a new number will come up, and no two numbers will be same. So this is a random number generator, and there is no algorithm to this random number generator. So effectively, the numbers generated by a random number generator will be very random. But what Amit says, that was an experiment, that these random numbers were generated and printed and put into an envelope without anyone actually seeing them. So effectively, we have an envelope full of numbers generated by a random number generator, which are supposed to be random. And before these envelopes were opened, psychics came in, and with their intention, they wanted to change the number more to the even or to the odd. So the measurement has not happened yet. The theory says the random number generators would generate numbers in whatever way. Psychics, before the actual measurement happens, when the measurement happens, when the envelope is opened and you look at the numbers, then the measurement happens. Because then only consciousness is choosing. Before that, it can be anything. So the psychics would like to arrange these numbers in a certain way. They will put out that intention. And what Amit says is, when you open this envelope, you will see that the numbers are apparently arranged in a way the psychics intended. So the psychics' intention before the envelopes were opened changed their outcome.
Yes, this is what I cannot grasp. This is for years.
Now it is clear?
No, not at all. How could they arrange the numbers?
First, you have to understand this, that this is weird. This is against what you believe. So it is natural that you will find it hard to believe that how can someone intention change the printers printing, the computers capturing, the random numbers generating, all these actions, how they can change going back in time. They cannot change. This is our general perception. The delayed choice experiment says, no, our perception that it happens this way is not correct. Our perception that there is an arrow of time, that present will always be before future, future will come later, is not right. This is the change in belief. This is what the experiment shows. So
I understand it. I understand the explanation, but I don't understand how it can happen.
Just imagine how difficult the job of materialists are. They understand a lot of explanation, but you know, it is very difficult to grasp for them, difficult to digest rather. Okay, I understand it by my head. Well, this guy is saying, but does it really happen? Come on. I mean, printers cannot go back and change what they printed, or the computer cannot change what it captured, or the random numbers generator cannot change what it generated. It's all fixed things by our normal perception. So that is the point. That in delayed choice, like in this experiment, this is such a simple experiment, Cecilia, that it can be done in any decent graduate school in physics laboratories. All it takes is a laser. A laser is a very common thing these days. It takes a Thomson Prism divergence. It can be bought for maybe $15, $20, and all are mirrors and stuff like that, and something to detect a photon. You know what can detect a photon? A photosensor.
I
Again,
know this is not so weird, but the one with the psychics is more weird.
Well, this is not so weird but it is telling you the same thing. It is telling you that here also the future is affecting the past. What the example Amit gives, or the experiment that happened, is just more elaborate. This is a smaller one, like you make a small toy car and then you buy a real SUV and drive in it. Both are same.
Okay, so here what changed the thing was the measurement, right? Was when someone looked and knew what was the beam that the electron came through, then it went back in time and became a particle.
Yes. Yes.
But if it went through the longer path, then it would become what?
Then this information will be lost. This is designed in this way that two detectors will not be able to accurately say that they have known which slits the electrons or photons went through.
That's why Ronaldo mentioned the uncertainty principle.
But here it is not uncertainty. It is designed this way.
Okay.
Because these two things that you see, they are beam splitters. Beam splitter means there is a half silvered thing. So half of the things will pass through, half of the thing will be reflected. Which half you don't know. So you lose the information. The moment you lose that information, thing comes in, the wave nature sets in.
So it is almost certain that it will go through this shorter path.
This path is not almost certain. This path you are referring to?
Yeah.
This will certain to go through because it is designed this way, that this beam will go through. It's a shorter path. So it will create a pattern, whether interference or particle here. Right? So
right.
And then the measurement will happen after it has created whatever pattern it wanted to create.
But it will always be a particle as soon as it is measured, right? It will not appear.
It will become collapsed. So wave will collapse into a particle.
Yeah.
I'll give you a simpler thing. Maybe if I explain it this way, I'll go back to our old double slit experiment. So here we see that these things, electrons have fallen. If we could measure it after it has fallen somewhere here, then the electrons or photons for that matter would not have any chance to change themselves because it has already fallen on the graphic plates. That's exactly what it did. But in the experiments, it was seen the moment it was detected, which way, even after this incidence, the whole thing changed, going back in time. Cecilia, there are a few very good videos on YouTube about the quantum eraser experiment and delayed choice, right? They use graphics and all that stuff. So you can maybe look at them because the concept is same everywhere, whether you learn it from Amit's books or any other quantum, because this is a very standard experiment, right? These experiments that we are talking about are very standard and they are available. In fact, I'm sure that in many of the graduate schools, because we did this double slit experiment when we were in physics graduation class, we had this laboratory setup where we did this experiment. That's only in Calcutta. So I'm sure the first world countries will have.
So you graduated in physics?
Yeah, of course.
That's why you know so much. Oh my God.
I don't know so much, but I know these things, the basics about it.
Okay. So I look for it as double slit experiment and no, sorry, as delayed choice experiment. And the other one is what? The other experiment?
We talked about
uncertainty principle.
Heisenberg's uncertainty
Yeah,
principle.
Heisenberg uncertainty principle.
And delay choice. Okay, I'll try to understand this after 14 years. My God.
No problem. Okay.
Ronaldo, your mic is open.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Krishanu. I love the discussion with Ronaldo and Cecilia. I was so puzzled, you know, last time I heard Amit describing those experiments in a way. Every time I discover new things, which make me say that I did not understand it before, and goes on and goes on. And I was so puzzled a few months ago about delayed choice that I said, how could I translate it into our daily life at macro level? And I had the idea to write a paper on hypothetical election day in a country. And you have ballot boxes, right? So, and people put envelopes inside, and nobody knows what everyone
It is
has voted.
today here, Patrick. We have elections today. We have elections here today.
Okay, so you can, so wait a second. So you will change the result of the election, right?
Let's hope for it.
And so I devote myself to write this and say, okay, but then a delayed choice means that in the same way as the experiment with the you mentioned, Cecilia, we have a situation where it depends when we observe, and so we could alter the result, you know, because I mean the slit, you know, in the ballot box plays the game, the same game, right? In a sense, right? In a sense, and so it's still puzzling me for the same reason here. Because at macro level, it means a lot. It means we could change our world actually at perception level, at consciousness level. So I would like to hear, Krishanu, if you have to say something to say here.
Yes, absolutely. India is the largest democracy in the world. I'm sure that you all know that.
Yeah, yeah.
We are some 1.4 billion people living in a country, out of which at least about 55-60% are of voting age, which takes us to somewhere like 700 to 800 million people voting. Okay. So if we are talking about the intentions of these people while voting, so we do not really have ballot boxes, but we have electronic things, same thing, just electronical, same thing. My take is that this intention is not like a Newtonian force. How does it happen? Say, I am a person, and let's say there is another person in front of me who is very robust. And if we try to push each other, or maybe we pull this, rope, what it is called, this thing is very common. That there are two people pulling the ropes, one on either side. Whoever is stronger will pull the other one up. Right?
Tug of war.
Tug of war, yeah. Right. So there is a tug of war. There is a person on the other side who is stronger. That means he can exert more force. So in all likelihood, unless he slips on something, I'm likely to lose. And if he slips on something, again, it's a resultant negative force. If we look at Newton's law, he was pulling like this. If he slips, there was this resultant negative force which affected his hold on the rope and reduced the force on the rope and increased the force elsewhere. And I had, at that point in time,